Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I'm an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. Make sure to check in the description notes below the video where you will find links to all of my online shenanigans, including how to join the Watch Barbara Knit's Facebook group, how to get Watch Barbara Knit merchandise, how to get my patterns to knit up for yourself, and how to support me on Patreon. And of course, today is a pattern release video, so there will be a link to my brand new pattern. And now what pattern release videos are, they're pretty much exactly what it says. It's the video I make when I release a new pattern, and it gives me a chance to chat with y'all about the new pattern and some of the inspiration behind it and details, because I do my best to take good photographs of the patterns, but there's just something you can't substitute for seeing it in motion, seeing how it drapes, and just getting a good look at it as I move it around. So I'm very excited about it. This is the first new pattern I've had in a while. 2020 kind of stole my mojo for a while, but I'm excited. And this is the first of 3 new shawl patterns that we are going to have over the next months at the end of the year. Now, you can see it on my silent partner behind me. I'm going to pull it down and let you really look at it in just a moment. But I thought I would take a minute to talk about the yarn. Now, I had this yarn. I had a single skein of Malabrigo Michita. Michita, here's what the tag looks like. Hello, tag. And the color is lava, which is a great color. Michita is fingering weight. It is 100% merino and it is superwash. It is a single ply yarn. It's about 100 grams. That's what it says approximately. And we're looking at 420 yards or 385 meters per 100 grams. It is, Malabrigo is one of my favorite yarn companies. There are so many out there, but I adore them. Their colors are gorgeous, all those things. Now, this is what the yarn itself looks like. Let me do the whole putting your hand behind it. You can see it is a single ply. It is a little bit felted. That is one of the things that they do. And you can see this one has a lot of variegation in it, but all the variegations are in the black, red, orange, umber kind of way. Again, it's fingering weight. The pattern and the gauge given is fingering weight. I knit it on size 5 needles. You're going to need at least a 32-inch cable because it does get long towards the end. Now, you can substitute pretty much any fingering weight yarn you want, and if you wanted to, you could go to a different weight, because the way this pattern is designed is you start it, you knit some texture for a while, you establish your lace, and then it's just a repeat, and you do that repeat over and over and over again until you run out of yarn. I really like these flexible, adjustable size patterns because they work well with hand spun, and they work well with, adapting to the amount of yardage and yarn that you might have. So you could definitely knit it in lace weight. You're going to need to change the needle size so you get a fabric you like, and you probably will have enough yardage in lace weight. If you want to go to a heavier yarn, a sport, a DK, even a worsted, you're going to need more yardage to get a decent size shawl. And again, adjust your needle size to compensate for your yarn size. This is one skein, as we said, about 420 yards. You could use 2 skeins and keep on going. You could use a gradient and it would be really cool. There's any number of things you can do with this pattern, and it's one of the reasons I like, as I said, designing these adjustable shawls. Now, let's get it down. Here we go. Let's see if I can lean back enough. Here we go. There you can see. Look, I think it's really cool. I really like this pattern. I wanted to knit I really didn't want to have to think too hard, but I also didn't want to get bored. So it starts out and it's not quite garter. It's got some knit purl rows, but mostly it's knit rows, and you're shaping. And so you do that for about this month, okay? And then you have to start introducing these columns of lace. So for this much, you actually have to pay attention to what you're doing. So you can pretty much start off and get the beginning done watching TV. But then you maybe don't want to be watching TV, maybe can't really do it at, depending on how focused you have to be for lace, might not be able to do it at your knit night or whatever. But once, as I said, once you get this lace established, and you're going to need 2 stitch markers, because you place a stitch marker at the beginning and the end of this column of mesh style lace. And then once it's established and when you've got your markers in place, it's a 4-row repeat. That's it. And the lace is the same on every right side row. The only thing that changes is that you get a knit purl row thrown in there on the reverse side, just 1 out of 4 rows. So then you just keep on going and going. And the way that the stitch markers work is the column stays at a fixed distance from the edge of the shawl. By the way, that fixed number is 20 stitches, except for the decrease on the end. And the amount of stitches before the column grows with every row, right? And it is dark and my webcam is trying so very hard to adjust the color. So that's why I'm kind of keeping it down here, because when I fill up the whole screen with the shawl, it really tries to adjust the color, and I want you to be able to see how gorgeous this color is. So you can see here at the beginning, there's 20 stitches between the edge and the lace, and only like 2 or 3. But by the time you get to the bind off, right, there's still the 20 stitches. Hang on, let's see how I can hold this up. So there's still just the 20 stitches between the edge and the lace, but the distance between the lace and your other end, here we go, is really long. Whoop, it's really long. See? You can see there's the lace, and you can see. So this part of the row gets longer and longer and longer. And as I said, depending on your yardage, all that's going to happen is the more you knit, the more this kind of the crescent on this side gets bigger and bigger, and the proportions are going to shift, but the lace stays in the same place. And I wanted to do that because I thought it was a really cool effect, but it also preserved the adjustableness, if that's a word, of the shawl. Because you could get something that visually, I'm gonna fuss, I always fuss. You could get something that's very visually similar by just doing a whole bunch of texture and then doing rows of lace and then finishing with texture. But the issue with that is you have to count. You have to keep track of the number of repeats that you're doing. You would have to know, and then if you wanted to adjust it, you'd have to adjust the number of repeats you did so that you can keep that lace the same distance from the bind off. And what I'm saying is, you could do it so the lace was running parallel to the bind off, but I wanted the lace running parallel to our selvage so that you can just keep making it. You can make it smaller or you can make it bigger, but the proportions stay the same. And it's playing with, I've done this a couple of times with moving lace to the neck and moving the lace around, because in a normal, what is normal? A normal shawl, you have like a bunch of stockinette or garter and then lace along the bottom or lace along the edge. That's why it's called trim. And the idea is to put the trim not in the trim, but in an unexpected location, something that shows up where you're not really expecting it to be. And that is where the name of the shawl came from. The name of the shawl is A Grin Without a Cat, which is an Alice in Wonderland reference, because Alice is about the Cheshire Cat, and the point where the Cheshire Cat fades, like starting with its body, and then you just end up seeing the grin. And Alice says, I've often seen a cat without a grin, but never a grin without a cat. So, and if you squint and you look at this, when you can see the lace, if you squint, the swoop, it kind of could look like a grin. Here, I'm gonna put her back up. Here we go. Just sticking her up there. You can see the lace. It's dark. So it is dark and beautiful, but it's not showing up quite as well as I would like. Definitely click through to my website or to the Ravelry page to get a better look at the photographs. And of course, you can do it in whatever color you want. I wanted to show it in this because some of the challenging things with yarn and falling in love with yarn is some things don't show up as well in dark colors, and some things don't show up as well in lace. And so this has a lot of negative space, and by negative space I mean solid fabric that's not the motif, for the yarn to show off. So this pattern is going to be very well suited to variegated yarns and darker yarns, and it's still very dramatic. Actually, I will show a picture, one of the photos, the still photos, so you can really see the swoop. The lace, because it is very linear, and because it's a big swath of it and it's multiple columns stacked on top, it has a lot of presence, and it can stand up to a dark color, and it can stand up to variegation. So if you have a problem skein that you've been trying to find something to do with, this might be the solution. Now I'm going to look over here at my finished pattern to make sure I have all the details. I told you you need 2 stitch markers, a size 5 needle, and the finished measurement was 48.5, and that's the wingspan. And then it drops from the widest point, like from the neckline, is right at about 13 inches. Again, that is one 420 yard / 384 meter ball of fingering weight. If you have more yarn, it will get bigger, and it'll get a longer wingspan and a deeper drop. So if you want it bigger, you can definitely make it bigger. If you wanted to use less yarn, like if you just wanted to use 1 skein of DK weight yarn, what you're going to end up with is something more like a bandana or a kerchief, and that could be a whole lot of fun too. Again, it's a very adjustable shawl. I just really like it. This is that boomerang shape, and I do a curve on it. I like it on the bias because I just think it makes more interesting, but I think it's a very versatile shape. The gauge is in the texture stitch. The given gauge is the blocked gauge, so keep that in mind. The pattern has just written out on the second page a little thing that says texture for gauge, so you know if you are going to swatch. And I mean, do I honestly expect people to swatch for a shawl like this? I seriously doubt a large percentage of people are going to. It's one of the reasons I design the way I do. So this is how much yarn I had left over. You could say, Barbara, you could have gotten 4 or 5 more rows out of that, and I probably could have. But whenever I design, what I do is I weigh the yarn before I get started. And then I do math based on, so it's supposed to be 100 grams. So I do math based on that 100 grams, and I leave behind about 10% of the yarn for people who don't swatch because I don't want you to run out of yarn. So if you're knitting and you still have a couple more rows, you can knit a couple more rows. You definitely want to knit on a row, finish either a row 1 or row 3, because I bound off from the wrong side. But if you really want to bind off from the right side, it's not really going to hurt anything. You do want to use a stretchy bind off. I suggest one because you're going to want to block it fairly assertively to get that lace blocked out and to get as much size out of it as you can. So is there anything else special I need to tell you about this? I'm excited about this shawl. I'm excited to be releasing a new pattern. The name, I struggled over the name a little bit. I think it's a good name. And I really think I like it. Hang on. So how do you wear this shape of shawl? So I like to hold it so that the point is like in the center, and then I kind of bunch it up in my hand like this so that that point, so I've got that point, and this is, see how these are a little bit wadded up, and then you can place the point exactly where you want, like that, and then you can bring this end around and make it lay how you want. This is easier when you're not looking in a webcam and everything's reversed on you and you can see the lace. And then you grab this end and pull it around. Now, one thing you can do is you can take this end and tuck it under here, and this end and tuck it under here. And then you hold on to this, and if you tie this in a knot under here, and then you put it back down, by tying that knot, this isn't going to come off. And so that is going to keep it more of a cowl-like shape. Now, it's got a little tail hanging down. I could have probably done that more strategically. And look, I can rotate it, and it makes it even more asymmetrical. Or, see, now it's in a knot. I can't just yank on it. You can always just, you know, wear it like a shawl. And it just keeps your shoulders covered up. It's pretty across the back, and the swoop, where's the swoop? There's the swoop. The swoop goes across the back. You could shift it around, bring this up. There's so many ways to wear this kind of shawl. Ooh, I like that. That looks good, don't you think? Ooh, I like that one. I think that's a good one. And then it hangs down like this, and you've got the lace here. So, and you've got this little bit of cowlie. I like this better because I don't like things quite as far up around my neck, especially when, you know, I'm in Florida. It's kind of hot. So this is a grin. No, yes, a grin without a cat is the name of this pattern. There will be links in the description notes below where you can get it on my website, or if you like Ravelry and having things in your Ravelry library, there will also be a link to Ravelry. If you have any questions about the shawl, please let me know in the comments. If you like the shawl, I'm excited about it. I would love to see you knit it up. If you have any questions about what kind of yarn, or if you do want to substitute, like change the sizes, because it would also be beautiful in like Arroyo, which is a sport weight Malabrigo yarn. Could be absolutely gorgeous. Frankly, I could even see it in Rasta. You're going to need several skeins. So if you want to make it bigger or adjust it like that, come over to the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group, and we can definitely talk about that there, and also share pictures of what we're trying to do. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I'm excited. And this is the new shawl just in time for really knitting season. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, click that like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to my channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.